What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Do It With Skibbity Toilet, and I'm back at it again with another dually video. It's not a build video today, and today I'm answering probably one of the most asked questions about the entire series. If you've been following me along for a couple of years now, you know I've been rebuilding this truck for going on 5 years now, or over 5 years now, and a lot of people have asked me pretty much constantly, why did it take so long, right? And I'm gonna be as crystal clear and as honest as I can about this. There's a lot of shit that happened with the truck and with other people that took so long, and I'm going to take as much personal responsibility and accountability as I possibly can with this. And I'm probably going to out some other people as well. Let it be known that at this point I have zero hard feelings. I don't care anymore, but I am gonna be honest. I try to always maintain crystal clear transparency with you guys about how much of a piece of shit I can be, and I do my best to try not to trash talk other people, even if I feel like I've been wronged by them, but that's probably not gonna happen today. First and foremost, you know, I picked this truck up in March of 2019, a little over 5 years ago. And I'll say the first things first, my biggest mistake was not doing the appropriate research to see how much I had to do, or the proper steps, I should say, to getting a salvage title or turned into a rebuilt title in the state of Georgia. It is a lot. It is one of the hardest states to do that in, if not the hardest state, right? But in the state of Georgia, getting a salvage title converted to a rebuilt title is a nightmare. And you can ask any Georgia state inspector, they'll agree with me. So yeah, my first big mistake was immediately, instead of like doing the proper steps, I kind of took the, oh, I'll figure it out as I go approach, and that was a mistake because I had to do a lot of stuff twice. And I just did not do the appropriate things, which is one of the main contributing factors as to why it took so long to get it registered. And I will get into the Georgia registration process in a little bit later in this video, just so you guys can understand how much it sucks. We'll cover that, right? So just follow along with me here. Now, the first couple of videos I spent doing basic things, right? Like cleaning it up, replacing some of the broken parts on the inside, like the seat belts and cleaning the there was tons of dirt everywhere. It's a salvage title truck, sat in Texas. So obviously cleaning it was like #1 concern. I still think that's great. Doing some customization like window tints, you know, just making the truck a little bit nicer to work on, I guess. But realistically, I should have been researching, right? My first big delay was the bed. It was the wrong year bed, which I learned almost immediately after purchasing the bed, but it's not like I could return the bed. The guy wouldn't do that. I bought it from some guy out in Rockmart, Georgia, who has since, I believe, shut down, probably to similar reasons, right? I think last time I checked they were closed, probably for giving people the wrong bed. Again, big fault on my part was not doing the right amount of research, but I did tell the guy what year the truck was. He could see, I went there, right? I was like, this is the year of the truck, and he just threw the bed on, charged me $2,500, and that was that. Turns out it was the wrong bed. That was a huge delay. I had to buy a second bed from 74 Auto, and not to mention, there wasn't a VIN number attached to that bed, and this is where it kind of comes into Georgia registration. So if you're rebuilding a truck and it doesn't have a bed, or the bed on it is fucked up and you have to get a new bed, it has to be from a salvage title vehicle, so you can't pull a bed off of a clean truck. It's gotta be a salvage title vehicle, and you have to know the VIN. You have to give them a VIN from the vehicle it came off of, probably to prevent thefts or people yanking, beds off of perfectly good trucks, Kind of ridiculous if you ask me. There's literally hundreds of thousands of trucks every day where they pull the OEM bed off and put flatbeds on. But no, it can't come from one of those. It's gotta be from a salvage title vehicle. It's gotta be in the system, and it's gotta have a VIN. And nobody really walked me through this process. Not that it's anybody else's job to inform me, right, about my state's regulations. That's on me. But I was being helped from multiple people in the industry who do this all day long, right? And you'd think that any one of them would have been like, hey, actually, you need to do this. You can't do this. You need to do this. But that is what it is. A big part of that is my fault. And a lot of time and effort doing things like upholstering the seats, painting the interior parts, like the headliners, the taillights, just accessories and doing things that necessarily aren't going towards rebuilding the truck as much as just customizing it. These are things that I should have done after I got the vehicle inspected and registered, right? So if you're in the state of Georgia and you're thinking, I want to rebuild a truck or rebuild a car, Please look up the rules and regulations. It can't be painted before you get it inspected. That almost lost me this truck. No shit. And I'll get into that too. You know, doing things like the side steps and the front bumper, like that was just, I don't want to say a waste of time, but it didn't matter towards the ultimate goal, which was getting the truck registered. And then came the biggest delay. The one thing that I genuinely do regret was the frame swap, right? Was a huge delay on the truck being rebuilt. So we started the frame swap in June of 2019, and it took until October to get the engine into the new frame, right? That's just to get the engine in the frame. So the truck sat at Magnum Collision for 5 months essentially, right? And that whole process of getting the frame swap was an utter nightmare, and I'm gonna go into that. The deal was originally that Magnum would do the labor for free in exchange for me making the videos, right? This is all pretty well documented. And then I would get the parts from Capital Cadillac at cost or dealer cost, essentially. So better than cost. I'd get dealer pricing on stuff, which was, I mean, that was a great deal. It saved me tons of money. It truly did save me tons of money. But here's the issue with that. Anybody who works in the like automotive repair industry or working on cars will tell you this, is that the turnover rate, especially in these big shops, are extremely high. You've got people going in and out, finding better paying jobs, finding jobs that are closer to them, higher paying jobs. It's what the automotive repair industry looks like. I think anybody who has worked in it knows what I'm talking about, right? I was kind of convinced by the people around me to do the frame swap instead of just pulling the frame like 74 Auto wanted to. 74 Auto was like, you should just pull the frame. It's fine enough to pull. And the people over at Magnum were like, no, we got to swap the frame. It'll be worth it. It's the same amount of effort. And it fucking wasn't worth it, and it was not the same amount of effort. I kind of got pushed into doing the frame swap. On top of that, like I said, a lot of people would get fired or quit or move on from the business, leaving me without anybody to help me with the truck, right? Magnum put a couple of people on the project with me, namely two. One of the people who was working on it with me, it was like really hard convincing him or trying to get him to do the videos with me or trying to get him to show up on the weekends to do it. And I understand everybody's got their own schedule, but what should have been, or what I was told would be a few weeks turned into a few months just to do the frame swap. And that is life. People have their own problems and their own lives to live. God damn, that is a C-130. Holy shit, I didn't know, I knew I was being watched, I just didn't know I was being watched that hard. So like, it really sucks when you're working on something and then the person who's helping you gets fired or quits, and then what they would try to do is they try to put somebody else on the project, but the truck is like literally in pieces. I mean, like there's the cab, the engine, the frame, the new frame, the suspension, it's all separated, and now these like new person has to come in and try to like pick up where the last person left off, and like, I only know so much. That's the whole reason I didn't do the frame swap, is because I don't know what I was doing. So like, I'm reliant on Magnum at this point to pair me up with somebody who's competent enough to do it and also can pick up where other people left off. That was a nightmare. That was the worst part about the whole thing, was like constantly having to explain to new people where we were at, what we were doing, what the deal was, and there was like no communication between like the company and the individuals, and that cost so much time. Because even though the frame swap was done by like November, December of that year, so you're talking like 8 months at this point, there was still a ton of issues. It was worse than when I left it off. You know, half the electrical shit didn't work. There was a ton of bugs, like electrical bugs. At that point, it had sat for almost a year, mostly with the windows down. Shit was left everywhere. There were missing parts and missing bolts. Nobody could figure out if what was mine. You know, so many people had worked on it, scattered shit around, and like parts got lost. Some of my parts got stolen, supposedly. The interior was ruined. The headliner was ruined. The carpet was ruined because it had been left with the windows down inside and outside for like a year, right? So that sucks. It was like having to go through that truck and redo all of the stuff that I'd already done. It's like, okay, great, I got a new frame, but nothing else works and everything is ruined. I genuinely like don't like playing the victim. Like I try to take as much responsibility for my own actions as I can, but that sucked. Like basically like pleading with people, like begging them, please, kind of try to put this thing back together. You know, I couldn't go there by myself. I'd have to be, it's a workshop, you know? So I couldn't go there during the week and do it. They're all busy doing shit. So it was like, I just got put in a really bad situation. I think everybody involved got put in a really bad situation, even though that we all probably had the best of intentions. I don't think anybody's intentions was to like screw anybody, right? But a lot of people got screwed in this process. 74 Auto had to sit and wait while my truck didn't get worked on, and so did I. I was out with this truck, you know, at the same time, like views are dropping, my channel's dying because of it, because like everyone's lost faith in me, and like, it fucking sucked to like watch, to like not be able to do anything about it either. It was just like, you know, it just fucking, At that point, they still had to paint it and do the body work and do a bunch of other shit, right? So like I was basically being held hostage. My truck was basically being held hostage. I couldn't do anything about it. And even further, the bed wasn't supposed to be painted. I didn't know that it needed to not be painted. They kind of just did it on their own. And while it looks great, when I went to go get it inspected, they're like, this can't be painted. You're gonna have to pull the paint off. Thankfully, I talked to the guy who was doing the inspections, and I showed him enough proof to where he was like, okay, you don't have to peel the paint off. But like, it was about that close to me having to strip all the paint off of this truck and being like, look at the repairs, so that I could paint it again so it could pass inspection. It was a nightmare. During this time, while it was getting body work done and painted and the frame was swapped, like the company changed ownerships or something along those lines. Either someone bought it or like the original owners came back and had no knowledge or care for our original deal, and then I had to pay for stuff that I wasn't supposed to have to pay for. So it's like, okay, great, this was an awesome deal originally, but now we're a year and a half behind schedule. You guys have done work that I didn't ask to do, and now you're asking me to pay for it when I wasn't supposed to. And you're probably thinking like, oh, boo-hoo, YouTuber had to pay. It's like, no. I'm offering a service in exchange for a service. That's how I work, that's how it's always worked. And that's what the original agreement was. So I had to pay for a lot of this shit that I wasn't supposed to have to pay for. So that was a big suck too, on top of them taking their sweet time and like me trying to convince other people to work on it and being like, I know I'm just bitching and venting, but I haven't felt comfortable enough to vent about it for a long time. And you guys know that I'm not like this. I don't get on the internet and I don't bash people, and I'm trying really hard not to, but I'm also being like, this fucking sucked. It was out of my control. I did everything I could, and I still got shafted on it. So the whole process, the frame swap, the cab repair, everything else, you know, took 2 years. It took 2 years for me dropping the truck off at Magnum to getting it to where it was drivable. And that's a big fucking iffy drivable, right? It still had a ton of electrical issues. It still had shit that needed to be fixed, right? Like the suspension, like the ball joints got fucked up from the way that they did the frame swap, and so did the boots and the front axles for the 4-wheel drive system. So I had to replace those. So it's like, not only did I have to pay for something I wasn't supposed to pay for, it took 2 years for something that was supposed to take at most 2 months. I still had to finish repairing stuff, and I still had to go get it inspected. And by that time, I think most of the hype on the build had died. I think most people had given up, or they didn't care, you know, and like, why would you? Why would you care? Little DOITWITHDAN can't finish nothing, right? That's how it felt. And it's like, no amount of like, please let me have, like, please can we work on my truck, brought that back. And during this time, to fill the gaps on the truck not being here, I accepted other projects, or I started doing other projects like the Camaro, the Mustang, and the ambulance. The ambulance was a big one that I think also contributed to a lot of like the viewers diving down, is because that was another project I didn't get to finish. And let me be honest with you about on that, guys. I haven't talked about this, but I'm going to now. I got fucked on that deal too. You guys have no idea, right? That whole situation. I've tried to keep it as clean. I don't like talking bad about other people. I put my blood, sweat, tears, and everything I had into building that ambulance for someone that I considered a friend at the time, and that was not met. That level of energy and enthusiasm and respect was not given back to me. I got sponsors for that thing. I spent my own money on that thing. And at the end of the day, the person who was supposed to be, you know, saving their money, who I was paying and letting stay at my house for free and all this other shit, basically was like, nah, I don't fucking care anymore. And it was a huge letdown. And I even continued to store the ambulance at my shop for free for like almost a year before I was eventually like, you gotta get this thing the fuck out of my shop. It's taking up room, ain't got no fucking money to do nothing with it, and you don't care. Like, it was like trying to deal with the person to do the ambulance build for them. You'd think that they would care, or at least put an effort, and that was just not the case at all, dude. Just not the case at all. And like, I've always wanted to do stuff for my friends and help them out, but that really made me reevaluate the way I operate and the way I do things because of how fucking lame that whole situation was, man. So anyway, I get the truck back, and then not super shortly after is when like my whole world fucking flipped, bro, was my motorcycle crash. That sucked, right? I broke my ankle, I snapped it all up, and also got COVID at the same time, which triggered my MS. So like I got COVID, I broke my ankle, and I got MS, right? And I still had no idea I was fighting with MS. My symptoms, I didn't know what my symptoms were, but like it was awful. I was like losing the right side of my body. I was losing vision in my eyes, tons of numbness and neuropathy. I couldn't figure out what was going on in my body. So I like had to put everything on hold so I could figure out like why I felt like I was dying all the time. So that sucked. That wasn't fun. I'm not being a victim here. That's life, right? Life happens. I'm not trying to be like, oh, poor me, I'm disabled. Everyone's got luggage, all right? Mine's just kind of heavy sometimes. Finally, after I get back up on my feet, I have to redo a bunch of shit, like my center console. I got to finish doing that. I got to restart it on that, the headliner, and just a bunch of other shit I had to redo. And then January rolled around, and I started kind of being like, okay, it's time to get this thing registered. I finally have the time. I finally have the energy. I'm stable. I'm focused on the dually, and I'm getting it registered, right? And then that's when I realized how much I fucked up. This is where I realized how I royally fucked up. Because I went to go get it registered, and I read online what you needed to get it registered. You need all this paperwork. You need literally receipts for everything. And I don't mean like, oh, well, here's a receipt here, here's a receipt there. I mean for every nut, every bolt, I needed the paint code. I needed fucking VIN numbers. Dude, I'm not joking. Like, you needed so much paperwork. The stack of paperwork that I provided for this truck was that thick. So between January and April is how long it took for me to gather all the information and do all the right stuff to prove that I actually did the work. It was insane. It took 4 months of that, of going back and forth to the to the inspection office and being like, is it good now? And they'd be like, no. And I'd be like, fuck. I'd have to repair something that didn't perfectly pass inspection. And I was also dealing with I was still dealing with some traction control and StabiliTrak lights. You can't have any check engine lights when you go and get it inspected. Could not figure it out. I did as much troubleshooting and research as I could and found nothing on my issues. So I was like, dude, I can't figure it out. I had to go take it to some professionals. It's where Economy Diesel comes into. They went through this truck as many times as I asked them to, probably about 5 times. They went front to back on this truck and repaired things and troubleshooted and figured things out. And I spent thousands with them. That was no discount. There was no deal. They are expensive. They do great work. They are truly the goats here because they were able to figure out everything that was wrong with this truck and help me get it registered. It cost a fortune. I had multiple like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 bills from them afterwards. Fuck. you know what I'm saying, man? All stuff that should have been taken care with the frame swap. Stuff that the person who was helping me out with the frame swap was supposed to help me take care of. Like, all this stuff was discussed about, like, we're gonna go through the whole truck, figure out every bit of issues and fix it. And instead, I got a barely running and driving truck. But after all that was finally said, in May of 2024, the dually was registered. Just over 5 years later. And that sucks, man, because like I pulled a lot of favors to get this done. I don't want to say I burned a lot of bridges, but like I'd be surprised if 74 Auto ever wanted to work with me again because of the situation. So that fucking sucks, dude. During the process, I took all the flack. I let it happen because I was trying to protect the people who were helping me. But ultimately, I learned so much about myself, about this whole process, about some of the other people that I had surrounded myself with. It was just fucking, now whenever I help somebody out or whenever I do something with somebody, and I do it simply for the fact that I want to help somebody, and it's easier to live that way. It really, truly is. So that way you never feel like you're getting screwed over because someone didn't keep up their end of the deal. If you don't give someone a deal to keep their end up on, they can't let you down, right? And it was a big learning experience. Would I ever do it again? Oh, probably. I would definitely do things differently now I know how to do them. And in the state of Georgia, you can rebuild up to 2 cars a year without needing a rebuilder's license. So yes, I would probably consider doing it again. I would just tackle it a whole lot differently, dude. But registering a vehicle in Georgia sucks cock and balls. I recommend that you go through a licensed rebuilder and then pay them if you're in the state of Georgia. But at the end of the day, man, is hurt that as I am about certain things about getting this truck done, I've let that go because the truck is registered now. I've got a fully paid off, custom built, amazing truck that I drive everywhere now. And I do mean everywhere. You can't catch me not in this thing. I haven't touched my Corvette in like a month now. I think the big question is, was it worth it? Like a lot of people are asking me, was it worth it? Fucking no. I'll be honest with you. It was not worth it because of I feel like what it did to my channel, how much it cost, how long it took. And like, there were nights where I came home like in tears. I was like, this truck's never gonna get done. It sucks getting pushed away to the side when you spend so much time and effort making sure that other people are taken care of. But that's nobody's fault but mine on that one. That's my own fault. But I am happy. I don't think I'll sell this truck, at least not for a long while. I love it. I drive it so much. It feels so good to be rolling around in something 100% custom that I made. Me. I did it. I would say 90% of the work that's in this truck. And I fucking love it. Matter of fact, one more thing to make this truck official. I've specifically waited until now. It's a HeatwaveVisual sticker. I have not put anything Heatwave on this truck. It's kind of like the last thing. So now it's official. Oh yeah, by the way, there's no sponsors in today's video, so just so you know, you can get 10% off all HeatwaveVisual sunglasses and apparel using the coupon code DOITWITHDAN, and you can also get 10% off of anything in my website, perfectplasma.co, using the coupon code DOITWITHDAN. That's right, 10% off, coupon code DOITWITHDAN on anything. But it's time, as you can see, I've been using my truck for the HeatwaveVisual sticker right there. And just like that, it's official. I will say one more thing before I close this video out. 74 Auto, even though that they probably don't want to do I haven't asked them, I just assume, right? Even if they didn't want to do anything with me in the future, I gotta say, they have never been rude to me. They have always been supportive of the build. When I called and told them I needed a new bed, right away, I was speaking to one of the owners, Alan. I was like, I need a VIN number for the bed. No problem, got it done like the same day. So despite it taking forever, thank you guys very much for rocking with me for so many years. I truly do think that 74 Auto is a great company, and I appreciate them for having worked with me for so long. The build series itself has well over 10 million views across the entire platform, and I do not think that my time frame with the build should deter anyone away from purchasing from them or purchasing from a rebuilt car lot like what I did, or pursuing rebuilding a vehicle. I really hope that nobody watches the series and thinks that's too much work, because it truly isn't. You just got to do a little bit of research beforehand. This whole process would have probably taken about a year had I just done the research. And that's 100% on me. It's nobody else's fault but mine. And I hope my process does not discourage anybody, because you can truly achieve your dreams, right? Like, this is my dream truck. This is my baby. You can truly do it if you know what you're doing, if you just have the fucking tenacity to do it. That being said, thank you guys for watching for so long, making sure that the video gets done. I know there's people who are watching who have never missed a build series episode. Thank you so much. So, yeah. That's it. That's all I have. I'm gonna go inside. Ugh. Thanks. Stay golden, Pony Boy.